Hi there, I'm Michelle the Painter, and this is Cookies and Canvas for Kids. Alright, so today we are painting Photobomb Bulldog, and I am eating some Three Musketeer chocolate chunk cookies. So let's paint our canvas and eat our cookies. Alright, so for the materials today, I'm going to be using a Stretch and Prime 16 by 20 canvas. You can certainly switch that up, but that's the size I'm using. I'm going to be using acrylic paint today. The colors are titanium white, burnt sienna, which I'll call rust, burnt umber, which I'll call brown, deep yellow, Mars black, and green oxide. And of course you can switch those colors up, but that's what I'm going to be using. I will be also using a number 2 pencil for an initial sketch, and I'm going to be using 3 brushes today. I have a 1/2 inch wide bristle brush, I have a number 8 round brush, and I have a number 1 round brush, and I will refer to these as small, medium, and large as we go through the painting process. I also today have another fun tool that I'm going to be using, a 9-inch paper plate. So that's the size I'm using. If you find one a little bit different size, that's great. I'm going to have a cup of water for washing my brushes, and I'm also going to have a paper towel for drying my brushes. And down below the video, I'm going to be supplying you with a few resources for the painting process. One of them is a link where you could purchase this entire kit that has the exact colors, the exact brushes, even the paper plate that I'm using. It's convenient, it's affordable, so that's there for you. But there's also a free downloadable link of the final painting. So you could use that. You could just go there and print that and use it as a visual reference as you go through the painting process. And there's also written step-by-step instructions as well that you could use those too. But the most important thing that I have down below is a recipe for my delicious Three Musketeer chocolate chunk cookies. So that's all we're going to need today. All right, so what we're going to do for the first step is we are doing a sketch of our dog and our cat. So how I'm going to start this is I'm whipping out my 9-inch paper plate. You could certainly freehand a circle. This is going to be for the base of the dog's head. This just really gets you in the right place and the right shape right off the bat. But if you do want to freehand it, what I'm going to suggest is it's a really large circle. I've got the left side of it more than halfway. It's past the halfway mark going to the left, and it comes down about 1/4 of the way to your canvas, and it's about 2 inches away from the edge of your right edge. So you could literally make like 3 dots, and then the 4th dot would be, you know, maybe 3 or 4 inches from the bottom, and then just make a big circle. But I'm going to make my life a lot easier, and I'm just going to use my paper plate to get the party started. And that's where I'm going to start with mine. So, and I'm going to toss my paper plate away. So after I do that, now I've got to create some other marks on my canvas to represent certain things on the bulldog. So how I'm going to do this is I'm going to make the exterior edges of the bulldog first. So on the left-hand side, I'm going to call this about like my halfway mark. So I'm going to start my outside edge of my body at this halfway mark right about here. And then I'm going to come over on the bottom part of my canvas, maybe about 1/4 of the way, and make a mark. And if you need to know where that 1/4 place is, you can always kind of eyeball it. So you can say, okay, here's my whole canvas. This is about halfway. And then just go about halfway between there and there, and you can make yourself a little mark in through here. And then you're going to connect this to this with not a wicked round mark, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of come down a little bit like at a diagonal, and then I'm just going to kind of bump it out like this is his like shoulder or something in through here, and then I'm just going to meet my mark down at the bottom. And if yours comes a little bit further, that's fine too. And then on the right hand side, so I'm just going to kind of travel over to that halfway mark, and then I'm going to come up maybe about an inch or so and make myself another mark. And then on the right hand side over here, I'm going to make this a little bit lower than this mark. So I'm going to come down maybe about an inch, just go over to the right, make yourself a mark, and this is going to be the back side of the dog. So I'm going to just kind of make a little hump there and then kind of make it come in something like that. So this is like the back of his neck or something. So then the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to make a couple of ears. So I'm going to have the one on the right side, it's going to be just about a half of an inch or an inch above this back of the animal. And then I'm going to, higher than my head, I'm going to go maybe, I don't know, maybe about a quarter of an inch, and I'm just going to come all the way over to the right, maybe about a half of an inch away from the edge of my canvas. And then I'm going to make a curved line in through here. Then I'm going to, from the top of my head, go down to the right, maybe about, I don't know, an inch, inch and a half, make myself a mark, and that is going to be the top of the ear. So I kind of scoop it. I kind of go down like this, and then I bring it up and scoop it down, something like that. And all of our ears are going to end up a little bit different shape. That's the beauty of this. No two animals have the same shapes anyway, so this is a great way to kind of freeform this. So now I'm going to go kind of at the same spot on this side of the head, maybe a little bit lower. That's going to be the top of this ear. And then I'm going to come about halfway between this mark, and that's going to be the bottom part of the ear. Then I'm going to come out, maybe I would say about 2 inches, and come down a little bit, almost between here and here. Make myself a mark. I'm going to connect these two with like a little bit of a curvy kind of line. This is going to be the underside of the ear. And then I'm going to connect this top part to here as well. So I'm just going to take this and I'm going to kind of almost go straight up. And then I want it higher than this. So at some point I'm going to start bending it and make it a little bit higher than this. And then just connect it into that spot. I'm going to make a little inside part of my ear, so about halfway from here to here. I'm going to take this and just make myself a little curve. And same thing on this ear. I'm going to actually take it from the edge and I'm going to end up about halfway here. Just make myself a little curve. So now we have the insides and the outsides of the ears. So now the next thing that I'm going to do is I have got to figure out something to do with this big face. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come directly from this mark and just travel over to the face right about here at about the same height as that, and then travel all the way across at the same height and just make another mark. Now I'm going to connect these two marks with a big, huge curved line. So the trick here is you want this pretty high, higher than this, and it has to be pretty wide, like, because the wider and flatter kind of it is at the top, the more wide that face is going to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of find my center mark, and I want it to be higher than here. So I'm going to come up maybe, I don't know, maybe about a half of an inch to an inch higher than this mark. So somewhere around here. And now I'm going to connect here to here. But, oops, I have a little ant crawling on my foot that was bothering me. I live in the woods. Ants are a regular part in my house. So here I go. I'm going to connect this, but I want it to be pretty wide. So I'm going to come over really far and then start drooping it down. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to come out really wide and then start drooping it down. So you want this really to be pretty wide. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down from the center about halfway between here and here. So maybe about right here, make myself a little bit of a mark. And now I'm going to come and make myself another curved line in through here. It doesn't have to be really that wide, and it almost, you know, not as wide as here. This is going to be the underside of it, and it can almost come in farther. You can almost like do something like this. So I've got it curving, and then maybe it comes like in towards the center of the canvas a little bit, something like that. And now I've got to connect this one to here and this one to here with a big loop. So these can come really far down your canvas or up. You know, it's all dependent on how droopy you want those jowls to be. So I kind of like mine, I'm just going to poof this out. I like mine to be pretty far down there. So I'm going to have mine hanging about halfway between my face and the bottom of my canvas. So here I go. I'm going to connect these two with like a looping kind of motion. And you can see I'm kind of sketching as I go through this process. And then I'm going to do the same thing for this one. So I'm going to kind of just loop this in through here. And before we go anywhere, we're going to erase these two lines. So I'm just going to take my pencil, which you'll probably have an eraser too near you, and I'm just erasing that one and this one. All the other lines can stay. And if you don't erase it 100%, don't worry about it. We just want to get it a little bit off the canvas. Okay, so then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to make some markings for his coloring on his coat. So for me, I want most of my face to be kind of on the lighter side. So I'm just going to go from a little bit past this ear to maybe a little bit to the right of the center mark. And I'm just going to make myself some kind of like wavy, curvy thing. So this part will be light, this part's going to be dark. Then I'm going to do the same thing over on this side. So I'm going to take, you know, somewhere about halfway between here and here, and then I'm just going to make myself some kind of loopy kind of mark almost to this area here. I'll go from here, and your markings can be totally different than mine. Maybe you actually own a bulldog and yours has the whole face is white, or maybe the whole face is brown. You could certainly have fun with these marks however you want. And then on this side, I'm just going to come a little bit up from this jowl part and then just make myself some kind of fun line in through here. And that's all I'm going to do for my dog. We do have a little bit we got to do on the cat. So what I'm going to do on my cat, I'm going to come down about 2 or 3 inches from the top of my canvas and make a mark. And then I'm going to come maybe about halfway down my canvas here and make another mark. And I'm going to connect these with the top part of an oval. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just want some sort of, you know, top part of an oval. And then I got to put some ears on there. So I'm just going to kind of make myself a couple of little cat ears, something like this, and make this one, you know, kind of similar. Maybe at a little bit different of an angle, so it kind of looks like he's like peeking over the side. And then I'm going to make 3 little bumps. 1, 2, 3. And 3 little bumps. 1, 2, 3. And that's all we're going to do for our sketch. We're going to take out our big brush for the next step, so you can just get ready. All right. So what we're going to be doing for the next step is we are painting our background. I'm going to be using my big bristle brush, and I'm going to be using green and white. So you could certainly use whatever colors you want, but I'm using green and white, and I'm going to use them on my brush at the same time. And I am going to be applying the paint with a circular motion. I like to paint the edges of my canvas, so I also hit the edges to make sure I have a nice complete painting. But as I start painting, I am going for kind of like an out of focus background, like maybe we're in the backyard or we're at a park or wherever you imagine yourself to be. So I'm going to have light spots and dark spots. So I just picked up white. The next time I reload my brush, I will pick up a different combination of green and white, or maybe one time I just pick up green, like I just picked up green right now. And when I go next to the animals, obviously I can't use that circular brush stroke. So I'm just kind of going slow. It's okay if you bump into your pencil mark a little bit. You'll probably still be able to see it through the paint if you're not using too thick of paint, but you definitely want to get right up to the outline because we don't want to have any unpainted canvas by the time, you know, we're done with this image. So I want to make sure that I get my background color right up to my pencil marks. And then when I'm in my larger areas, that's when you'll see me kind of using that circular motion. And I just picked up only green this time, so this area will be a little bit darker. So it's the beautiful thing about, you know, using acrylic paint. We get to use different shades of the paint. Some are going to be light, some are going to be dark, different tones. And it really makes it fun because you can give the illusion of, you know, that we're outside by doing this. So if you have some light spots and dark spots, it's almost like the sun is trying to peek through some of the areas. Maybe you want yours to be more abstract and you just want a solid color. So maybe yours just is dark green, or maybe you want yours to be all just light green. So it's totally up to you. But for me, I'm going for this kind of out of focus look like I was talking about, which is why I'm using these circular brush strokes, and I'm kind of alternating whether I'm using a lot of white or a lot of green. And I'm just gonna kind of make sure that I don't lose myself. Sometimes what happens is when I'm doing this type of painting and I have all of these different sections, I accidentally paint one of them as if it was the background. So just as you're going through, just make sure that you stay in the sky as opposed to painting part of your dog by accident, which can happen. It can happen. I tell you, I've done it several times. So if you do it by accident, then you can, you know, just wait for it to dry and paint over it if you wanted to. And again, I'm just kind of finishing up here, making sure I get all next to the animal, making sure I've got my edges. And sometimes when you are painting near the edge of the object or the animal, you will see your brush strokes and it'll look like you're painting around. So if you want to, just go back and make sure you've got that circular motion right next close to the animal, so it doesn't look like you're just, you know, painting outlines around it. You want to make sure that you've got that circular motion nice close to the animal. And then that's going to conclude this step. We are going to switch brushes to our medium brush for the next step. So once you get this all done, make sure that you take a bite of your delicious cookie or snack and get your medium brush out and ready for the next step. All right, so what we're doing for the next step is we are using our medium brush and we're going to be painting the light patches on our dog. So I'm going to have several light patches. So I've got this big area here, this like horseshoe kind of area here, his mouthy kind of part here. This one's going to be light, this one's going to be light, and this one's going to be light. And I say light because I'm not going white. I'm going to be using a combination of white, black, and rust. You could certainly use brown too if you wanted to. As I go through this process, I mix my color on my canvas, so that way each one of these sections ends up being a little bit different in tone, which is going to make it look a little bit more natural. I am going to use a little bit more of the rust in this section, so it almost looks like it's like a pinky color, like you can see his skin at his mouth part, which makes it look a little bit more natural. So how I'm going to start this is I am just putting white with a touch of black on my brush, and I'm just going to start painting a section. So to me, that's pretty black, and you might notice as you go through the process that black really overpowers. So you don't really need too much of it. You can get these sections to be nice and clean along the edges. They don't have to be too rough or anything like that. You might want yours super duper light, you might want yours kind of on the browner side or on the rusty side. Whatever the light color you want is totally fine. Bulldog, because I mean, bulldogs come in so many different colors. They come in different breeds. So there's, I mean, I think I know maybe 3 different kinds of bulldogs. I even own some myself. I own little French bulldogs. But I think there's maybe English bulldogs. I think there's American bulldogs. And I think that's about as many as I know. I don't know. How many kinds of bulldogs do you know? But I think I only know, I know that there's many, many more than that, but those are the only ones that are coming to my head right now. I just picked up a little bit of the rust color on this particular section, and you can see they're just, you know, changing. They have a little bit of a different tone to them. If they're light gray, that's going to kind of tell the viewer that it is a whiter type dog. You could go really, really light if you wanted to. Like this head is going to be a little bit lighter than that section for me, and that way I can still see the difference between here and here. When I go to do this section, maybe I do it even lighter. So especially when you go the sections that are touching each other, if you can get them to be a little bit dark or a little bit different in color from one another, that's going to help you to continue to see the difference between them. But if they're really too similar in color, you might lose the detail a little bit. I just want to wiggle this a little bit more, and then I'm going to do this big huge area in through here. And because you've done the pencil, you most likely will be able to still see that pencil underneath it, which will help you in deciphering the different sections. But we will later be doing a line that will delineate the light sections from one another. We're going to do like kind of an outline kind of thing. So if it's tough for you to see the difference between some of your sections, don't worry about it. We've got a step later that's going to help you with that. And I've just got a little bit more on this section. And then I'm going to go for my where my mouth section is. And then we're going to use this same brush for the next step. But I got 2 little sections left to finish here. This one. And you can use a lot of paint on your brush during this step. There's no need to be stingy when you're doing this step, because it's going to be a while before we touch it with anything else. This one I just want a little bit more blended. That's why I keep going back into this one so it's nice and blended. I'm going to go right in through here. I'm going to make it a little bit more with the rust color, so it looks like it's got a little bit of a pink kind of hue to it, like it's his bottom, the bottom part of his face is just kind of, I'm making bulldog faces for you now. It's amazing the things that just come out of me naturally. I didn't expect that I was going to be making bulldog faces for you, but you know, you never know what happens when you're eating cookies and having fun painting. And then again, I'm going to be using this same brush for the next step, but I'm going to wash it and dry it in between steps, which you can do the same. Maybe take a bite of your cookie and get ready for the next step. All right, so for the next step, I am using my medium brush. I'm going to be painting the inside of the dog ears, and I'm going to be using rust and white. And I'm showing you this because I'm going to pre-mix a little bit of kind of a pink color. So something along the lines, it almost looks like skin. You want to make it kind of the color of skin, which burnt sienna or this rust plus white will give you something close. And then I'm just going to paint that as the inside color of my ears. So we've got the little section in through here, and I know from my bulldog owning experience that these should be clean ears. which are not fun to do. It's not fun to clean a dog's ears, but so I'm making myself some really clean insides of this bulldog's ears. And it's going to be a nice, pretty pink, natural kind of color. And then we are going to use this same brush for the next step. So once you've painted some clean insides of the ears, you can wash and dry this medium brush and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we are going to paint the dark fur patches on our dog. We're going to use the medium brush, and I'm going to be using 3 colors. I'm going to use yellow, brown, and rust. And the reason I'm using 3 colors is because I want it to look like fur, and fur has multiple tones to it. So I know that the typical color for an English bulldog, which I think is what we're painting, is it's kind of like that rusty color. So, but I want there to be some light spots and some dark spots, so I will also use yellow and brown. So I'm going to kind of alternate the colors on my brush, but I'm going to start with all 3 colors. So I've got a little bit of rust, a little bit of brown, and a little bit of yellow. I'm not using a lot of paint at all, and I'm just going to kind of rub it into, well, make sure I've got it all the way to the edges. And then I'm just going to kind of rub it in. I'm not using any fancy brush stroke. I just want to get a nice kind of coat, no pun intended, on the entire animal. And if you'll find yourself just kind of wiggling your brush a little bit at sometimes. You might dot it in other places, but the trick here is to just make sure that you get the entire areas covered. You can, when you get to areas that like overlap, we'll get into those areas where they overlap the lighter spots. You can make it a little rough too if you wanted to. You could almost add like a little longer fur look by using dots or speckling it. But right now I'm just kind of giving it like a smooth coat because I know that a lot of bulldogs have short hair, so I'm just, making sure it's kind of on the smoother side. You could always do 2 layers if you wanted to. I'm going a little bit slower on this one than I did for the lighter colors, only because I know that you can kind of see this a little bit more. So I am taking my time, especially on these ears because they're so small. So I just want to make sure that I get the full area covered in here. And you could, I suppose, on the ears, you could also use your smaller brush just to get those colors on there. But you can see, since I'm using all these colors on my brush, I'm getting this really neat variation in the colors. Like this ear looks a little bit darker than the other ear, which is super cool. And now I'm going to go into this section. I might use a little bit more yellow in here, so maybe it's a little bit lighter, being that it's on the top of the head. Maybe the sun is hitting it a little bit more. Maybe he's outside and he's got a little bit of a highlight on his face from that sun beating down in the park maybe. And then I'm just going all the way to the edges and then getting to the edge here. And again, it takes a couple of minutes just because, you got to go a little bit slower around the edges. But just know it does not have to be perfect. I mean, there's no perfectly round dog. There's, they always have little, imperfections or lumps or bumps. Bulldogs have rolls of fat all over them, so they, are not necessarily the smoothest dogs. So you can certainly just have fun with this. And if you want it to be lighter or darker, you can certainly add additional colors into it. I'm going to go down here. Maybe I'm going to do underneath here a little bit darker. So I used a little bit more brown down here. So, again, just have fun with the color pattern. Maybe yours ends up, you could put patterns on it. You could have fun and put like a giraffe pattern on it or a zebra pattern or something. That'd be super cool, having a bulldog with zebra stripes on it. See, my creativeness comes out of me every now and again. But again, just have fun with this. I'm not using a lot of paint, so that way I can just kind of rub it on there and I get a nice soft look to it. But again, I'm just taking my time, making sure I get all these little areas. We are going to have another step that will help if you've, kind of gotten outside of your lines a little bit. But when you get to an area where it's touching other fur, you could even sit here and just kind of dot it a little bit. That would give you like a more of a realistic look to it, but that's up to you. Again, I'm just kind of painting this in, making sure that I've got a nice even distribution of the paint, making sure it goes all the way to the next section. By the time I'm done with this step, my entire bulldog should have paint everywhere. So you want to just make sure that you've got the whole thing painted in. And in some spots you are going to be able to see your pencil mark through it, which is totally fine. We will, have additional steps to hide the places that it matters. But right now we're just kind of concentrating on getting the entire bulldog colored in here. I just got this one little sliver of a spot left to do over here. And again, have fun, make it whatever shade of brown or rust or yellow that you imagine it to be or want it to be. And then we are going to use the same brush for the next step. So once you've got this all painted in, you can wash and dry this medium brush and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're gonna do for the next step is we are painting in the fur of our cat, and we're gonna use the medium brush, and I am just using brown paint. You can use whatever colors you want, but I am just gonna make myself a little house cat. You could make yours a Siamese cat or a tiger cat or a Angora cat. I don't know many more names of cats than that, but a calico cat. You could have a whole bunch of different kinds. Maybe you want to make yours a big lion or a tiger cat, a real tiger cat. There's house tiger cats, like alley cats, and then there's real tiger cats. So whatever kind of cat you want, I'm just using the brown as a base color for my cat's fur. But again, maybe you want your cat to be black or white. Totally up to you. I am designing this to not be a black cat for the eye purposes. So just giving you a little forewarning there. If you decide you do want to do a black cat, you might have to do something a little bit different on your eyes than I'm going to do. But all other colored cats will be able to follow what I do for the eyes. So just wanted to give you that forewarning, because I know some of you are like, oh my God, I want to do a black cat. Well, you can, but it's just a little bit more tricky when it comes to the eyes, because the eyes that I've designed for this particular painting are designed to be on lighter fur. So just wanted to give you that little forewarning. And again, I am just painting in a solid color. You could, again, paint yours whatever color you wanted. You could have markings or, dots or stripes or whatever you want on your cat. Just bring it all the way to the pencil mark. You want to make sure you hide your pencil mark. And then we are going to switch brushes to our small brush for the next step. So once you get this cat all filled with fur, you can put this medium brush away in your water cup, take out your small brush, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for this step is we are doing our black outline and details on the dog. So I'm going to be using my small brush, and I'm going to be using just black paint. And when you go through this process, I want to give you a couple of tips on, you may want to make clean lines throughout this process or smaller lines. And some of my tips are, you can take a touch of water and you can mix it into your black paint a little bit. What this does is it makes it like an ink consistency, and it allows your brush to hold more of that wet paint, providing you with a longer, more fluid line. Another tip is that you can take your brush and spin it in your paint on the side of your palette. That's going to give you a nice pointy tip. And my third most important tip is to not push hard and just reload your brush often. So when you're doing these, just try not to push hard unless I tell you to, because sometimes we want wider lines, but most of the time you just don't push hard and you'll get that nice thin line. So what we're going to do first is we're just going to make one line at a time. I'm going to guide you through this. We're going to do the shadow in our ears. So I'm going to just do a black line at the bottom edge of the fur part, and I'm just going to go from the head and go about halfway into the ear. So I'm going to take my black line and go about halfway. If you can make it skinnier at the end, great. If not, no worries. I'm going to do the same thing on this ear. I'm going to start at the head, and then I'm going to trail it off about halfway. So then the next one that I'm going to do is I'm going to do from like my jowl. I'm going to ride the face until it gets just past the shoulder where the body meets the face. And what we're doing right now is we're helping these sections be more separated, and you're giving it a little bit of like an added three-dimensional dimension to it. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to start here, and I don't have the edge of the shoulder to go by, so I'm just going to stop about halfway up the face. So see if I can get my hand to stay out of the way here, and then just stop about halfway up the face. So now I'm going to do one from here to here on the top of the nose part, or whatever this part is. The muzzle, I think is what it's called. So you can just, wherever you feel comfortable to start, you probably can still see your pencil mark underneath. So I'm just kind of traveling along the side of it in between my colored patch and my non-colored patch. Then I'm going to do the same thing underneath here. I'm going to start, this is going to end up being our lip. So you can make it wide in through here, like a thicker line. And then when you come down towards this like jowl, this like saggy part, you want to stop it right about here. So here I go. I'm going to take this and I'm going to push my brush pretty hard in through here, because that I know is going to be his lip. And then when I come down here, I'll make it a little bit skinnier. Traveling, I'm just outlining it really. And then I'm going to stop it as it comes up this curve. So again, I'm going to make it pretty thick in through here. And then as I come down here, make it a little bit skinnier if you can. And then I'm going to stop partway up. So let's see, what other ones am I going to do? So I've got to put one on the top of this muzzle part to make that little wrinkle at the top of their their face. I think the muzzle part. I don't know the anatomy of a bulldog. I just know that this is near his nose, which we'll put on in a minute. So what you're in essence going to do is you're going to make another curved line similar to this one, only when you start coming down the face, down and through this area, you can kind of kick it out a little bit, almost like a little smile line, and I'm not going to bring it farther than this area here, or it'll be right about at that area. So I'm going to come about 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch away from that black line. So you can just kind of start by just doing this, and then when you come down to this side, I'm going to go like this and just kind of kick it out. What that does is it gives the illusion that this is kind of like a round part on the face. So I'm going to do this as well down here and just kind of kick it out like that. So now I've got this like illusion that that's a round spot. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to make my nose, because I know this is the nose, and I'm going to make like an arced kind of line in through here. You can have this really wide if you want to, or it could be narrow, but I think the wider it is, the more accurate it's going to look. And I'm gonna have it come about halfway down between this line and my mouth. So it'll come about that far. So here I go. I'm gonna make myself like a curved line, something like that. Then I'm going to color it in with black paint. So I'm coloring in my nose, because I know that this is a nose. And then I'm going to make a line down towards the mouth. And then what I do is I get rid of these pointy parts right here by just making a little bit of a curve. Like that. And like that. And then I'm just looking to, oh, we got to do the eyes. Those are the most important part, right? So we're just going to make a shape for the eyes. So these are going to be really low on the face. They actually are below the bottom parts of the ears. So here's the bottom part of the ears. The eyes are below that, and they are outside of your nose. So they've got to be to the left and to the right of the nose. And really, you can make them super close to this upper wrinkle here. I'm going to make the bottom part of a circle. So I'm gonna start maybe somewhere about here, and you can cross over your marking, whatever works for you. I'm gonna get it really close to that wrinkle, and I want it pretty wide. So I'm gonna make mine about halfway, the distance of my ear halfway, just come down. It's gonna be about that wide. It's pretty wide. And this is gonna make them look even like sadder or droopier or, just grumpy. And then I'm just gonna square off the top. And what I do is I'm gonna make like this little, almost a little flip on that side. It doesn't have to be super flat on the top, but I'm gonna bring it down and make a little flip there. So I'm gonna do the same thing on the left-hand side. So I'm gonna go to the left of my nose. So somewhere about here. I don't want it to go higher than that. And it's gonna be really pretty wide, close to my wrinkle. Something around here. This one's super wide. He's gonna have big, the bigger the eyes too, the younger it's gonna look. So the bigger your eyes, the younger it's gonna look. And then I kind of close that off the top. I'm gonna do a little bit of a eyelash thing coming down here, a little eyelash thing coming down here, and then I'm gonna give him a little eyebrows. So this one I'm just gonna give like a little curved eyebrow like that, and then over on this side maybe this one's a little bit more like confused or upset that he's got somebody bombing his beautiful photograph. And then we are going to use the same brush for the next step. So once you get all your little black details on here, you can wash and dry this small brush and get ready for the next step. All right, so for the next step, what we're doing is we're going to do the black details on our cat. And for those of you who are looking at your bulldog right now saying, kind of looks like he's wearing sunglasses. Don't worry, we're gonna get back to him in a minute, but right now we're gonna go and that's just the first layer. We're gonna go do kind of the same thing on our cat right now. I'm gonna use that small brush, which I guess we really didn't have to wash because we're using black paint for it. And I'm gonna do 2 circle eyes with little like pointy things up in the corner. So I want these to kind of look like they're looking at him. So if you can put them at a little bit of an angle, that's great. If not, no worries. But I want them kind of big. So I'm gonna just kind of make mine pretty big. I'm just doing the circle part first. And then what I'll do is, once I get them into place, then I will put the little pointy thing up in the corner of them. So I've got that. And then I'm gonna just go and make myself a little pointy part up in the corner of each eye. So just kind of point it up there. And then what I'm also gonna do right now is the whiskers. So cats, at least some of the cats I've seen, have these weird whiskers that come off of the top of their head. They're these little sensory kind of whiskers, which is what all whiskers are for. But they're kind of above their eyebrow. So again, this is one of those steps you just don't want to press hard, and you can just use some watered down black paint and just kind of put as many up there as you want. And then I'm going to have some coming off the side over here. So you can have, again, as many as you want. They can be as long as you want them to be. We're just seeing just a little piece of the cat, so you don't need to put them, you know, coming out right at the, you know, right at too far in if you don't want to, just little pieces. And then we are going to use this small brush for the next step as well, but you do have to wash it and dry it. All right, so what we're doing now is we're going to be using our small brush. We're going to be painting the inside of the cat ears, the cat nose, and the eyelids on the dog. So these are, in essence, the remaining pink things that we're painting. So you can, if you still have some of this color, great. I think I need to pre-mix a little bit more on my palette. So the color combination, again, was just white and rust that we're using. And again, it doesn't have to be a perfect shade. It doesn't even have to be the same exact shade as the first time that you did it. And it will, when you go to put it on the cat, it's going to end up looking darker anyways because it has the brown base underneath it. So don't worry if it doesn't come out the same exact color as this. So I'm just adding a little bit more rust to mine just so I can get mine the desired shade that I want it to be. And then once I have it, I am just going to paint a couple of the inside part of the ear. So what I do is I just kind of do a curved line that meets the tip of the ear, and then I'm just going to color in that section. So this is the right side of the right ear, and you could leave a little outline along the edge as if that's the edge of the outside of the ear. And then I can do the same thing on this side, kind of giving myself a little sliver of this pink area as the inside of the ear. Just watch out for the face. You don't want to go into the face. And then I'm just going to make myself a little cute like circle for the nose. Just a little tiny button nose there. Then I'm going to give my adorable bulldog some eyelids so they look even more droopy. So I just have the pink color here, and I'm just going to go above that black area. Give myself a cute little eyelid. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. Give myself a cute little eyelid. Now he really looks like he's getting all droopy on us. And then we're going to use this same brush for the next step so you can wash it and dry it and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're doing for the next step is we are finishing our cat eyes. We're going to use the small brush, and we're using green, yellow, and white. But I do want to caution you, before you start this step, you do want to make sure the black part of the eyes are dry. Otherwise, you're going to have a difficult time. So you can either blow on it, wait, or you can take a blow dryer and just blow dry it. That's the quickest way. So I'm going to take my small brush. I am pre-mixing a bright yellowy green color. So I'm going to take a little bit of green, a little bit of yellow, maybe a little more yellow, and a tiny bit of white. The white makes it so it's not see-through, but you do want to have some vibrancy to it. So you definitely want a good amount of yellow in there. So it's almost like, kind of like a lime green. So pretty bright is what I'm going for. I want my cat to look nice and mischievous and have these like piercing eyes. So I'm going for the really cool color here. So I want my cat to kind of be, you know, like peeking out the side, like looking over at the dog, like, I don't know if you see me or not. I don't know if you want to see me or not, but so I'm going to try and turn my eyes a little bit towards my dog. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to make like these kind of arcing lines, which is going to be the colored part. I want to keep a little black sliver in the middle of each eye, but I'm going to have it, instead of going like this, I'm going to have it tipped a little bit. That's going to tell the viewer that he's kind of looking over that way. I'm going to leave these little pointy parts black, and you'll see how it goes. So I've got my pre-mixed green color, and I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to go something like this and something like this. And then of course you can widen it if you want to. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other eye. So you can see my center sliver is not directly like this, it's tipped a little bit. So again, that's going to give it the illusion that this cat is in fact peeking at that dog. And I've done it on that side. Let me just add a little bit more paint. The more paint you add, the brighter it's going to be. Sometimes that black paint underneath tends to dull in your color a little bit. Then I'm going to quickly wash and dry it and put white on my brush. And this is going to add the twinkle in the eye, and it's also going to direct the eyes to look more like they're looking at the dog. So I have a little bit of white on my brush, and I'm really just kind of doing a little bit of a dash that's going to cross over the green into the black. And I'm not going to over mix it or anything. I'm just going to kind of do something like that. Just a little line, and I'm going to attempt to do it at the same spot on the other side. And you can see I have a shaky hand. I'm resting it on the side of my palette, and or the side of my easel. And that's all I'm going to do for that step. I will be using the same brush for the next step, but I'm going to wash it and dry it. All right, so what we're doing for the next step is the final details on the face of our dog. So I'm going to use my small brush, and I'm going to be using black and white for my color combination here. So how I'm going to do this is I'm going to start with my nose and mouth. So I want to, in essence, put a highlight on the top of my nose and on my lips, so that gives it a little bit of dimension. And I want to kind of make it look like there's some nostrils. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put white with maybe a touch of gray or a touch of black on it, but definitely mostly white. And I'm going to just put like a curved line at the top of my nose. And it doesn't have to be a perfectly executed line. The messier it is, almost the more natural it's going to look. And I'm going to do the same thing on my lip. So I'm just going to kind of make a little bit of a highlight on my lip. Now I'm not going to wash my brush, but I'm going to pick up some more black. So now it's a darker gray, and I'm going to add these like little nostrils. So I'm just going to add almost like a little curved line there and a little curved line there. And if yours is too light, you can always wipe your brush off on your paper towel and just pick up a little bit more black. And you can always adjust the color. So if you went too light or too dark, or just not the right color for you, just pick up a little bit of black. Or if you want it brighter, you can pick up a little bit more white. You can really adjust it to be whatever you want it to be. And then if you do have gray on your brush, I recommend washing and drying it. And we're going to go ahead and do the eyes. So we want these eyes to be gazing at our mischievous cat here. So in order to do that, we want to have the majority of the white of the eye on the right side. That's going to make him looking this way. So how I'm going to do this is I'm going to put white paint on my brush. I do not want to paint my eyelashes, and I want to leave a little sliver of black along the edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take white paint, and I'm going to make pretty wide line a little bit away from my eyelashes, almost to the center, maybe a little bit less than halfway. And now I'm going to curve this down like this, keeping it away from the edge. You want to keep that little sliver of black paint there. And then I'm going to bring it back up the right hand side, keeping that sliver of black, and then just paint this all in white. So I am creating a very large white area. This is going to make him look like he's thinking. It's going to make him saying, what the heck are you doing over here? He's got all kinds of stuff on his mind right now. And these eyes are definitely helping to tell that story. So again, I gave myself a kind of a horizontal line. I'm curving this down like this, staying away from that exterior edge. Then I'm going to do the same thing over here, staying away from the exterior edge, keeping that little black sliver around the edge, painting it in white. And then I have to put my sparkle dots or my life dots, whatever you, twinkle dots, whatever you call them, the little dots in the eyes. So I like to do 2. I'm going to do 2 or 3, it doesn't matter. I'm going to do them below my eyelashes. So this is my eyelash. So below the eyelash, I'll do like 2 or 3, one definitely in the black, maybe one crossing over, and you know, if you want another one in it. So here I go. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, maybe. Something like that. And just do this similar. You could do dashes if you wanted to. You just want to make it similar on the other side. And that is going to finish that part, and we have one tiny little step to go. And you know, gosh, he's just cracking me up. I'm like, he's like, are you kidding me? Like, I don't understand why you're in my picture. Whenever I put these eyes on here, it's all of a sudden, now he's talking to us. He just wants to tell a story, or tell him to get the heck out of his shot or something. But anyways, I digress. So we're going to use this small brush for the next step, but you're going to have to wash it and dry it. So just get ready. All right, so what we're doing next is the final step, which is the final step to any good painting, which is to sign it. So I'm going to be using my small brush, and I'm going to be signing it. I usually go bottom left or bottom right. This time, I think I'm going to sign it in the bottom right. I'm going to be using black paint, but you could use any color you want. I'm going to do my initials, but you might choose to do your full name, your first name, or maybe you put the date on it, or a symbol, or whatever you want. It's your painting, you sign it whatever way you want. And that is going to conclude this painting. I hope you enjoyed the process. I hope you love your super cute painting. And if you do love your painting and you did enjoy the process, you could totally repaint this with different animals, make different versions of it. I've got all kinds of other animals on the YouTube channel. I've got ostriches and owls and fish. I've got turtles, all kinds of animals. So you could certainly do another version of this with other animals as well. And I totally look forward to painting and eating some cookies with you again sometime.